So what makes a game good? Is it the gameplay? Fighting enemies, shooting them with guns, reloading, managing your inventory? Is it the graphics, the visuals, the style? Is it the sound, the music, the ambience? Is it maybe the story? Is it the dialogue, the characters? Is it the world? Is it all the little things, the details, the things that make the game unique or different? Or maybe it's the experience. Is it the way that everything comes together, all of the above, into something cohesive, something meaningful? Is it the believability of the world, no matter how fantastical or realistic it might be? Is it the immersion you feel? Or the sense that, well, maybe this world could exist even if you weren't around, that it had a life of its own? Or maybe it's precisely what it means to you and to you alone. I don't know. Maybe it depends. Maybe it can be some or all of these things, or none of them. It's a worthy question to ask anyway. I think so. And playing Stalker 2 lately makes me think a lot about this question. Because somehow, despite all of its issues, and, God knows there are many, but in my heart of hearts, I know it's a good game. A great game even, and pretty excellent one. But why? Well, I think at least one aspect of a good game has to be something like memorability. Is it memorable? Is that the question that I often ask? Because I think that's how I've come to judge the overall quality or meaning of many things. Whether it's a game or a book, a movie, whatever. Is it memorable? Does it have at least something or many things even that stick in your mind that you can never forget? And often these things will be something that sticks to a lot of people, almost achieving a sort of meme or legendary status, to put it more elegantly maybe. But either way, it's clear to most, or to those that the thing resonates with, that these things are the moments, or they're the moments that hit you and stick with you, that rise above everything else, no matter how good or bad the rest is. The exact ratio. Sometimes it's a moment, sometimes it's a type of moment, sometimes it's a song or some dialogue or whatever, but it's something that stands out, something that has meaning. I think these memorable aspects, again, don't even have to make up a majority of the work, but they'll always, almost without fail, be there if something is otherwise exceptional, or exceptional as a whole. And if it isn't excellent as a whole, the memorable factors will make up for the shortcomings. Everything is balanced, though, of course. I think there must be some cases where not even the highest highs of something will make up for the lowest lows, but then that's also kind of a matter of personal taste and perception, as all of it kind of is. But back to Stalker 2. This is a game where, to my perception, the memorable aspects, these highest highs, outweigh by and large every single one of its lowest lows at its core, and even much above that. It's a great and solid game that's kept me engaged, gotten me thinking about it even when I'm not playing, wondering what'll happen in the story before I finished it, so on. It feels really like a worthy successor to the originals to me. It has the same spirit, even a lot of the same details and design choices, whether it's good or bad, that establish what makes these games so special to me. It's all there: the gameplay, the visual style, the music, the sound, the atmosphere, the characters and writing and story, all of its goofiness and seriousness, the little things and big things, the world itself and every nook and crevice in it. And That's pretty surprising. I mean, when I bought the game, I was fully expecting it might just be a total piece of shit that I hate and that disrespects everything about Stalker or whatever. I just had to see what was the case regardless of the true outcome, I guess. But it really was everything you'd expect out of a sequel and more, at least for me. And again, that's almost sort of strange, I guess. I mean, one thing too is I don't play a lot of new games. And I think the subject of modern gaming itself is another thing I wanted to focus on in this video related to the main question. Because seeing discussions about video games, or all media really, you get this impression that everything new gets worse, and the older you go, the more good there was in general for everything. And I always kind of just wonder how true that really is, you know, if it's actually getting worse in every way for certain mediums or all of them, or if it's kind of just some matter of perception. Maybe it's just more complicated in one or the other. But regardless, I mean, most of the games I do play and have played in my life have been older games. You know, games released a decade ago, games released before I was born. It's rare that I'll play a game made even in the last 5 years, I mean. Most recent, though, funnily enough, was something I played right before Stalker 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Which, by the way, it's really funny to me how so many of those voice actors in the game are in Stalker 2 as well. Like, an absurd amount of them. Like, I suppose it's because they're all based in Prague, I think, and are around there anyway, probably because of KCD2. I think even because of GSC having to redo a lot of the voice acting anyway, if I'm remembering the documentary right, but still is pretty enjoyable to me. I do like noticing voice actors across games, and, you know, I think that alone kind of makes the English voices in this game feel really enjoyable to me, even when it can be a little goofy, which, I mean, the originals were too, even if in a different way, you know, with the Slavic accents and stuff, which, I mean, there's still a little bit of that in this game, but, you know, not as heavy, but I digress, I guess. KCD, Kingdom Come Deliverance, is a little less recent, released 2018, but it was still the most recent thing I had played until now, obviously. And I guess it's funny, since I almost feel like I get a little bit of an old man perspective from it, since I'm not really used to a game with such good graphics, you know. It blows me away, like I'm coming from Super Mario 64 or something, since that kind of is what it is. I mean, that's my perspective, so I maybe in some way with these new games I've tried anyway, I'm kind of easily pleased in some sense, because I haven't gotten used to what is possible on modern hardware or whatever. Like, wow, look at that tree, look at those light shafts, you know, I've never seen that shit before in my life. But anyway, I mean, that's, again, sort of aside from the point. I think what I realize is that maybe new games can truly be good. And this is in terms of, like, non-indie games, I suppose. Kind of like the old days, or what I perceive as the old days anyway. Like, you'd have the biggest games, but also, you know, the AA ones from smaller studios too, that often were some of the best, I think, or, you know, would even become the biggest studios. But maybe in a way it hasn't changed all that much at all. I mean, it has, of course. It must. That's just the way of things, and it's plain to see anyway. Different factors, different problems. But it all makes me wonder if at least some part of it is perception. You know, maybe we just focus too much on the bad and not enough on the good, or something about hindsight, maybe. Easier to filter the wheat from the chaff. There's plenty of garbage back in the day, too, from big studios and small ones. We just don't remember them usually, since they aren't memorable. See what I mean? It's kind of the opposite marker of a good game, really, which seems important to note. The worst games aren't laughably bad, you know, but simply so boring that even if it keeps your attention, you won't remember a thing afterwards. Nothing stands out. A good example, I think, is Starfield. I played that through legal acquisition, of course, and it did keep my attention. I played through much of it, you know, most of its side quests and factions and a little bit of the main quest, seeing what I think was much of what it had to offer through many hours. But like a piece of chewing gum, eventually it loses its taste and you realize it really kind of meant nothing. It didn't challenge you mentally or emotionally, gameplay or story-wise, not at all anywhere, really. It was empty. Sometimes I would feel the same marvels I mentioned, like, wow, look at those graphics. I've never actually played something this advanced. It's kind of neat. The light shafts, the hair on everyone's head. It's so realistic. Whatever. It's not enough. In Kingdom Come Deliverance, it was enough because it added to what was already there. It added to the foundation and was another piece to its great puzzle. Same with Stalker 2. But, in Starfield, it was just empty like everything else. Everything has to work together, I think, to mean something. I don't know if it can even be quantified, but it just has to work. And, it didn't. Bethesda's an easy punching bag now, though, I know. Nothing crazy there, really. But a good example is a good example, I suppose. Gets the point across. But anyway, this isn't really a review per se, so I don't want to get too deep into this kind of analytical judgment and comparison, I suppose. I just think it's important when something has a meaning like this. Stalker 2 means something, like I think any good game does. What exactly it means, I think is harder to put into words, or it's everything that sticks in your mind about it coming together. It is what it is in its completeness. And that doesn't mean that it's some masterpiece that breaks you or something like that. No, it doesn't have to be so extreme every time. It just means something, like a lot of things do. But that matters, I think. It makes you feel something, makes you think, gives you a unique experience. In a way, it's as simple as that.